start with landscaping. And I would say now is the time. Things that are a year old or older, and they still have their original stakes on them, mainly trees. We're talking about trees. The first thing to do, pull those stakes off. The plant, I've seen stakes left on that trees way, way too long. We are a windy climate. Plants, the way that they work their muscles or become strong, I mean, basically, if you put your arm in a cast for 3 years, how strong is your muscles going to be when you take that cast off? You have no muscle tissue. Same exact thing with trees. So you need to take those stakes off so that they can flex and move in the wind without breaking or snapping. This is especially important for your soft, fast-wood growers. Things like robinias, purple robe locust, your cottonwoods, willows. These are really important to get off those stakes. Now, if you're not sure if it's strong enough to hold itself up in a strong windstorm, March is windy in the mountains. If you're not quite sure, what I tell folks is snip the whatever's binding or holding that stake up, the tree to the stake, just cut those off. Leave the stakes in the ground until it gets leafed and you see that first windstorm. If you see that it's laying over all of a sudden, you go, okay, I need to put it back on the stakes. The difficult part of staking a tree is getting the stakes in the ground, especially in the mountains. So you could easily tie it back up in March as we start to really get into spring. But probably what you'll find is you can snap those stakes off and it'll go fine with itself. Get it off the stakes as soon as you can. Don't leave that thing staked up too long. The biggest mistake would be the trunk. You got a tree here. The biggest mistake I find, they put that stake like this. This is a shipping stake. Most of the trees come on with stakes just to get them from the farm to here without breaking and maiming or scratching or damaging the tree. Now here at Waters Garden Center, it's painstaking, but we take all those stakes off when they come in at the back dock. Mainly so that you won't use this and keep it when it's planted, because it's not going to help the tree. It's going to make for a very weak tree. So we pull these off, but if you bought a tree and it's still there and it's up against the trunk, anyway, pull this one off especially. There I might, if it's been kept on there for let's say a year or two, I might pull that off and put another stake on either side for a season, just until it gets strength to it. Plants need to move. They want to move, but not just bend over in the snow. I would say that's especially important for evergreens, your spruce, pine, cedars. If they were staked originally, the only reason we kept them staked was so when a heavy snow comes, it doesn't fall over in this heavy snow. Those plants can for sure be taken off those stakes, no problem. It's your bigger trees, your sycamores, cottonwoods, willows, those great big growers. Those are the ones you're not quite sure, because they put on such a large leaf mass when they're leafed out that they're like a big parachute. And they catch that wind in let's say April. It gets pretty windy, prevailing southwest wind always blows. There's when you might see it start to bend and grow in the wrong direction. You'll see a tree that grows to the northeast and it's just sitting there, no stake. That's a tree that wasn't staked. And so the wind got it blowing and just all of a sudden it solidified in this northeast pattern. You always tell them, if it's a fruit tree, it'll load up with fruit and just fall out of the ground. I've literally seen them leap out of the ground because they couldn't take the weight. Okay. Step number 2, get rid of anything that's dead or damaged. If it's got sun skull, that is the top of that branch is cracked and looks like the bark is flaking off, it looks damaged, that needs to come off. It's just a magnet for disease and bugs. It's going to be a problem for you. And it doesn't do anything but attract negative aura for the plant. You need to get rid of that stuff. Cut it out of there. If you don't know where to start, just start by cutting out the dead and damaged. That'll start to open up the structure of the plant, so you start to see. Sometimes it's so intermingled, you can't even see where to make the cut, where to even start. Start by, number 1, cutting out the dead and damaged branches, okay? Number 2, anything growing to the inside. We'll have a good example of this across the street, because these fruit trees were just solid mass of just branches every place. The leaf spot was terrible, mildew was terrible. And so now we've opened this up so you can actually see the air can flow through it. We're trying to get where the air can flow through and the sun can get down to the inside of the structure of that tree or shrub. Okay, so that's number 2. If you start doing these 2 steps right there, instantly you'll start to see the structure of the plant. Just get rid of that growing to the inside of the plant, just cut that off, and then anything dead and damaged, all of a sudden you'll start to see, open up that plant, you'll start to see where to prune next. So these trees are pretty old. They were really mangy looking. They were growing, this is an apple tree, the branches were coming down the ground, it was overgrowing itself, it was disease ridden. It was just an awful mess. I still am not done with it, but it was the initial, I just pruned it initially and tried to open it up. What I did, I just started out with cut all the dead and damaged, and then get anything that was growing down to the ground. I don't want to be ducking underneath. I want it low maintenance. I want to be able to see, through it. And then I went to cut out the branches growing to the inside. I still have a couple of them, like this one right here. You can see it's growing to the inside. I'm sure I'll cut that one off and just take the chainsaw and whack it back. So it opens up the middle. It'll help the bug count. It reduces it. Bugs they like to be confined, protected from the sun, the wind. And so this plant, I predict, this had little small apples on it this last spring. I predict this tree is going to be gorgeous, big, heavy producing. Now,